don't get around much anymore. By Jasper L'Estrange. Mr. Saturday Dance. Dee 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 da. Ah, that was an oldie even when I was young. But that music, jazz, big band, never really went out of style, did it? Ellington, Basie, Goodman, Calloway, Kenton, splendid stuff. Mary likes it too, of course. She'd always try and get me to dance with her back in the day. She was a bit of a mover then, Mary. Would be still, given half the chance. Loves to cut a rug. Me, not so much. I was always a bit too self-conscious for my own good, you see. And Mary would say the same. A bit too reserved to ever really... Well, you know. What is it they say about youth being wasted on the young? I'd give anything to dance once again with my Mary now. If only I could get these damn legs to do what I want them to. I don't know what Kinyobi makes of it all, mind. The music, I mean. Being on the young side, he probably likes heavy metal industrial grime, or what do they call it? Electric garage music. But give him his due, he doesn't seem to mind when I play my music. In fact, he often asks if I want to put it on. I've even caught him tapping his feet to it, or nodding his head in time, so maybe, secretly, he likes it. He's funny, though, Kinyobi. Well, he's Japanese, but he can be very quiet. In fact, I almost forget he's there sometimes. I'll be sat in bed, listening to my records, and then I'll look up and get a fright because he's sat in the armchair across from me, completely still, just watching me, or looking like he is, and I say, Kinyobi, you'll be the death of me, creeping about like that. And he'll snap to suddenly, as if I've woken him up, and say, I'm sorry, Mr. Robinson, I didn't mean to alarm you, or something like that. Sleeps with his eyes open, I suppose, which doesn't seem very trustworthy. But no, that's unfair. As it happens, I trust Kinyobi implicitly, and I value him. He looks after me well enough, and obviously I'd be very lonely without him, not to mention completely stuck up a paddle without a creak. He does everything for me, you see. It was the boy who suggested it, that I have someone here to look after me full time, someone living in, as it were. Well, he's very busy, obviously. He's got his own life to lead, wife, children, career, and so it was unfair to expect him to just drop everything when I first took ill. Oh, he would never put it in these terms, but I was becoming a nuisance, a burden. And that's something I never wanted to be. Not to Mary, not to my children, not to anyone. And obviously it was out of the question that I'd live with him. I mean, Ben and his wife have the room. They have an awful lot of room. They have an awful lot of rooms. But as they said, it would have meant a big upheaval for me moving out of here. And was I really well enough to cope with all that? Especially with them living so far away. No, they were right, of course. And as I say, you don't want your children, your son or his wife, to have to care for you, do you? I mean, especially when it comes to the more intimate side of things. A man has to retain some sense of dignity, doesn't he? And that's where Kinyobi really comes into his own. Oh, they offered me a woman, but that didn't seem quite right. Well, if only for the toileting and the washing, you know, of one's private quarters, apart from my own and mother's, and that woman with the flat above the florist's, whose name I can never remember. It's only Mary's eyes and hands that have ever had business in that region. No, I could never have had a woman in dealing with all that unpleasantness. No. No matter what she said, I'd always feel like I was making an exhibition of myself. It isn't like that with Kinyobi, of course. Very businesslike. Almost no eye contact, unless I was to ask for it, which I wouldn't. I close my eyes and hum to myself and just let him get on with it. Think of England, as they used to say. It won't surprise you to know that he is brutally efficient, as he is in nearly all matters. Again, him being Japanese, there were a few cultural hurdles to get over. At the start. I remember early on I said I'd like him to wash me downstairs, and, he looked terribly confused and said, "But Mr. Robinson, then you would be in Mrs. Jessop's apartment." You must be, I've learned, very explicit with Kinyobi. But that's the benefit of having a man, isn't it? We can say what we want to each other as bluntly as we like, without any fear of causing offence or upset. Even Mary, who's a game old bird and loves to dance, as I've said, even she can take exception to the merest things, and certain things in our marriage she's refused to countenance whatsoever. She doesn't come and see me very often now, Mary doesn't. Not lately. Well, she's not been well herself. I miss her, though. I miss her dreadfully. Kinyobi's good company, or tries to be, and he's surprisingly thoughtful. "Would you like to see pictures of Mary?" he says, as if he knows what ails me. He can make them come up on the TV, the pictures of Mary. "Have you got anyone special in your life?" I asked him once. We were looking at these old holiday photos. Greece, Cyprus, Malta, Turkey. Looking at them, I'm temporarily transported to sunnier locales, with vistas of shimmering blue seas and whitewashed buildings brilliant against bright, blue, cloudless skies. And there, with Mary, in a succession of wide-brimmed hats and sundresses, her skin changing through various degrees of brown, like a colour chart for shed paint. Kinyobi was studying these pictures intently. I don't know why I asked. Curiosity, or just something to say. I didn't see how he could have someone. He's nearly always here, for a start. But the young, they do that sort of thing online now, don't they? Courting, I mean. In their little pods. So I thought he may have a sweetheart somewhere. Anyway, he thought about it and said he'd like to meet someone one day, but right now he was rather too busy. He looked sad when he said it, and if you knew Kinyobi, you'd find that quite something, because he's not the most expressive of chaps. You might say inscrutable. But anyway, it did rather upset me, hearing that, seeing him like that. You see, I'm a burden to him, too. Darling, I guess, dee, nevertheless, why stir up memories? Memories. It's a puzzle, isn't it? Some days I see the past so clearly. Mary and I, when we were newlywed, her pregnancy during that long, hot summer. Goodness, how she struggled. The birth of the boy, Ben, me, the proud father of a fine son. Mary would have dearly loved a daughter, of course. But sadly we lost Hannah, and then Sophie. Some things you don't want to remember. Kinyobi came into me one morning and found me in a real sorry state. He put the tray he was carrying with the tea things on it down and rushed to my side. "Would you like to see pictures of Mary?" he asked. "No," I said. "Would you like to exercise with your dumbbells?" I was bawling my eyes out at that point. "Would you like to hear the Duke plays Ellington?" he asked. "Do I look like I want to hear the bloody Duke plays Ellington?" I barked. "Mr. Robinson is cross," he said. "Have I done something to upset you, Mr. Robinson?" His manner, which I normally find a calming, comforting presence, today I found merely irksome. "No," I snapped. "It's nothing you've done." "Then it's something I haven't done," he said, with a stupid grin on his face that made me think he was trying to be clever. "No," I said, quite exasperated. But the truth was, I didn't really know why I'd been crying, or why I was angry. I just was. "What's wrong with me, Kinyobi?" I said, finally. "Why am I like this?" "You were living with a condition caused by the build-up of abnormal protein clumps in the brain," Kinyobi started, and I cut him off. No, I mean, what's wrong with me? Why am I still here? Why am I stuck here in this stuffy old apartment, unable to go anywhere or do anything? I seemingly can't look after myself. I can't walk. I can't remember to eat or drink. Sometimes I can't even remember my name. "Mr. John Robinson," Kinyobi unhelpfully interrupted, so I ignored him. "I have terrible nightmares, hallucinations that feel horribly real. I wake up screaming. That's when I haven't already pissed myself or messed the bed. I'm in near constant bloody pain. No one ever comes to see me, and if they do, I can't remember, and you have to tell me about it afterwards. What I'm trying to say is, this isn't really a life, is it? It's quite the opposite." Kinyobi can be a bit of a cold fish, as you might have gathered. But give him his due, bless him. He took out a tissue and dabbed away my tears. "The opposite of life is death," he said, smiling somewhat inappropriately. But he touched my hand very gently and went on. "You are alive, Mr. Robinson, and I for one am glad, for looking after you gives me purpose and reward, and I exist to make your life more comfortable." That's a very Kinyobi thing to say, but he was so obviously sincere, I started to well up again. And then he said, "Would you like to do a word search, or have me bake a cake?" That was a week ago now. Or yesterday. It's so hard to keep track of time these days. Thought I'd visit the club. Got as far as the door. Shh! I'm talking quietly because I don't want Kinyobi to hear. I fell out of bed last night, or at least I think I did. I've got bruises on my head and arms, which is nothing new since I bruise so easily now, but, well, I don't know what had happened, but I came to, and I was on the floor beside the bed, and I was shivering. It was so cold, and I was sweating too, and I called out for Kinyobi, and, well, he was right there, standing in the shadows. I saw his eyes first. "You fell, Mr. Robinson," he said. Of course I did. Why else would I be on the bloody floor? I don't know why I was so angry with him, but my heart was pumping, racing, pounding, almost as if I'd been involved in some tremendous fight. "Would you like me to put you back in your bed?" he asked. "No, I want to stay bloody sitting here all night." He turned away then. No, wait," I said, softening my tone. Please, yes. Lift me back into the bed." "What happened?" I said, as he was tucking me in. "You were having a bad dream, Mr. Robinson. Would you like a glass of water?" "No, it's fine, but how do you know I was dreaming?" "You were talking in your sleep, Mr. Robinson." "Oh, really?" I said. "What was I saying?" "You were having some sort of quarrel, I think." "Quarrel?" "Yes, quarrel. A heated argument or disagreement between two people who are usually on good terms." "Oh," I said. I was looking at him curiously. "And this quarrel made me tumble out of bed, did it? You began tossing and turning and thrashing. You started shouting. You kept saying, 'No, no, no, what have I done? I didn't mean to. Oh God, oh no. Mary, oh God, oh no. Oh Mary, oh my God, what have I done? Oh God, would you like me to continue, Mr. Robinson?' 'No,' I said, obviously perturbed. 'No, it's all right. I was thrashing, as you put it. Thrashing so much that I fell. It was as if you were trying to escape from something.' He grinned then. 'On the plus side, you were able to move your legs,' he said. 'Would you like to know what the weather is doing, or hear a funny joke?' 'No,' I said. 'I want to see Mary now.' Kenyobi looked confused. 'Pictures of Mary?' 'No, Kenyobi, actual Mary, the real Mary. I want to see my wife, Mary, or talk to her at least. I want my wife.' Kenyobi's confusion deepened, but then his face broke into a broad smile. 'Now Mr. Robinson is making a funny joke, haha.' 'I want to call my wife,' I said, 'on the phone, now.' His smile vanished instantly, and for a good few seconds, it seemed, he just stared at me. 'Your wife is dead, Mr. Robinson. Mary is dead.' I was temporarily lost for words. 'Dead? But when?' I said. 'Nobody told me. I know she was unwell, but—' Again Kenyobi looked puzzled, his brow furrowed, his head cocked to one side. 'Mr. Robinson has forgotten.' 'Forgotten? What have I forgotten?' His face became suddenly completely expressionless. His head straightened. His eyes seemed to bore into me. 'You killed your wife, Mr. Robinson. You had an argument, and you bludgeoned her to death with a hammer.' 'No, no, no, that isn't true,' I gasped. But at the same time, these images, these horrible, terrible, sickening pictures of Mary kept flashing in my brain. 'Why ever would you say such a thing?' 'I want to speak to my son,' I said. 'Get my son on the phone.' Again, Kenyobi stared blankly at me. 'I am afraid I am unable to complete that request, Mr. Robinson,' he said, with a tone of condescending sympathy. 'Your son has asked not to be disturbed.' He left me then, and I've been lying here ever since, too terrified to sleep or even to close my eyes. I can't be sure what's real and what's not. I don't know if I fell out of bed or if Kenyobi's trying to hurt me. I don't know what to think about anything. All I do know is I don't trust Kenyobi anymore. Rise and shine, Mr. Robinson. I wake with a jolt. His voice came out of nowhere, but of a sudden, there he is, looming over me. At first, he's a black blur against the bright sunlight streaming through the window, the curtains having been pulled wide open. Then his face, cool and impassive, starts to coalesce. 'What day is it?' I ask. 'Tuesday,' he says. But time, days, weeks, months, hours, minutes, years, time has no meaning. 'I've brought you a cup of tea,' he says. 'Thank you.' The cup he passes to me I peer at with suspicion and disgust. 'Is it poisoned?' 'It's PG Tips.' 'As good as, then,' I say. 'Leave it on the table.' I look at my arms, rolling back the sleeves of my pyjama jacket. Those cuts and bruises weren't there yesterday. 'Time for your tablets, Mr. Robinson,' he says. 'Put them over there with the tea.' 'I'm supposed to—' 'I don't care!' 'Put them over there. I'll take them when I'm ready.' I haven't been taking them. Kenyobi's otherwise smooth forehead crumples into a frown. 'Would you like to do your dumbbell exercises? You haven't exercised recently. Lack of exercise makes you grumpy.' I choose to ignore that. A mental workout, then. How about a word search? He offers. I can't ignore that. Do you know, I tell him, to my recollection, I don't believe I've ever done a word search once in my entire life. I think I might actually hate them. He ponders this, and his face when he's thinking is quite something to observe. You can almost see the little cogs turning. What can I do instead to make your life more comfortable, Mr. Robinson? He asks, finally. How about piss off, I say. I don't mean it, of course. How can I? I'm completely useless without Kinyobi. Or so I'm led to believe. But then again, what if it is all a ruse? What if I'm being held here against my will? What if all those pills he's been shoving down my throat are the cause of these wasted legs? What if they've ruined my mind? Questions. Why is he always here? What's his game? He looks the sadistic type, does Kinyobi, with his beige t-shirt and soft grey lounge pants. A mean little sadist torturing an old man for sport. You'd like me to leave you alone for a while, he says, with just a trace of that ever-present menace. I think that's what's so unsettling about him. He never comes right out with it. You never know what he's really thinking. If I didn't know better, I'd think I'd like to call me a cab, I say. He was walking away, but stops then. He turns round, an amused expression on his face. I'm afraid I can't call you a cab, he says. You're not well enough to... No, not call me a cab. Cab me a call. Cab me a call away. Call me a cab call away. Play me a cab away. Call cab away. A cab Callaway. Play me a cab Callaway. Oh, you'd like to hear some music, he says, smiling. I can't remember, I say. Later on, much later, he makes pictures of Mary come on the thingy on the wall. He's studying the pictures, places I must have been to but can't remember. But there they are, different shades of Mary. I wonder what he's thinking about. Maybe he wants a holiday. Eventually, he says, "What made you kill her?" He has his back to me. If you loved her, why would you kill her? People often hurt people they love, don't they? Sometimes they kill them. Why did you kill Mary? I didn't, I say. I wouldn't. Ask her yourself. I can't. She's dead, he says, still looking at the images of her on the screen as they slowly transition from one to another. He goes quiet for a few seconds before saying, "You fought with her. You had an argument. You took a hammer and hit her with it. Hit her repeatedly until she died. My blood runs cold. What he's saying can't be true, but his saying it summons up these terrible visions. Mary in my mind in different shades of red. No, I say. Why would you say such a thing? I would never have done anything to hurt my Mary. I could never." Kinyobi turns his head away from the images and faces me. "You just don't remember, Mr. Robinson. That's all." He's looking at me with this strange expression, something like pity. "You don't remember, but you've told me about it more than once. How you were so angry with your wife that you hit her with a hammer. 63 times, you said. You broke the bones in her hands and wrist when she raised her arm to defend herself. Then you hit her head. You hit her over and over and over. Hit her so hard that her face turned to mush, you said. There was nothing left of it, you said. You said she..." I screamed then. I scream and cover my ears with my hands. I just want him to stop talking. Stop talking, Kinyobi. Awfully different without you. It's funny, you know, but I still have moments of lucidity. The music seems to help. Kinyobi tells me that it's good for people with my condition to listen to music. Something about music being linked to memories and having the power to evoke the past. I know I haven't been feeling quite right these last few weeks. I've been losing whole days in the fog. Then I have a day like today, and the fog has lifted. I see everything, clear as crystal. It's Kinyobi, if that's even his name. It occurs to me I don't know where he came from or why he's even here, but he's up to no good, I'm sure of it. In fact, I'm quite certain he's an outright villain. He's been drugging me, I think. He tried to make me swallow pills this morning, but I spat them back out when he wasn't looking. Those pills will be the reason I can't walk. He's trying to trap me here, of course. Why? That's something I can't be sure about. My best guess is that he's just an evil-minded sadist, some sort of psychopath. Well, you'll have read about those internment camps the same as I have. It wouldn't be a stretch. I now believe the little sadist invaded my home and decided to keep me here with him as a sort of pet, something he can torture for his own depraved amusement. He's nice most of the time, that's probably part of his game, but when I'm drugged up to the eyeballs, that's when he does his worst. That's where these bruises come from. I've reconciled myself to the fact that he's almost bound to have interfered with me. You find in these sorts of cases there's usually that aspect. He thinks I'm weak, you see. Too weak mentally to work out what's going on. Too weak physically to fight back. Well, I'm afraid poor old unwitting Kinyobi is about to be very thoroughly disabused of those assumptions. Oh, shh. Here he comes now. You look cheerful, Mr. Robinson, he says. Listening to music often improves your mood. We should always have music. You see what I mean about the nicey act. How can I make your life more comfortable now, he says. Would you like to go back to bed, or are you happy in your chair? Do you know what, Kinyobi, I say. I think I'd like to do my arm exercises now. Can you bring me my dumbbells? He looks at me queerly for a second, then says, very well, and scuttles off to fetch them. They're not great big heavy things, of course. If they were, I shouldn't be able to lift them. But I reckon if I swing one with enough force, here he comes. If I swing one with enough force, it should be enough to knock the bugger sideways, probably put his lights out for a bit, just enough for me to tie him up with the old dressing gown cord, see. I haven't got a plan beyond that, but... Here are your dumbbells, Mr. Robinson, he says. I must insist that you don't overexert yourself. You haven't used them for a while. I say, I may be the one wearing nappies, Kinyobi, but you don't have to treat me like a baby, as I begin lifting the weights. They're a tad heavier than I remember, but then I've grown so weak. It's the adrenaline, though, isn't it? When that kicks in, it gives me the necessary burst of power, the explosive force. Was that the door, I say, making Kinyobi turn his head, and that's when I swing at him with the dumbbell in my left hand, clobbering him right in the temple, catching him completely off guard. I'm rather surprised at my own strength, because when I hit him with the weight, there's a pronounced, sickening crack, and his whole head jerks to one side in the most horrid fashion. He stumbles backwards, and I think he might topple. But then, oh God, he whirls round to face me, And now he's staring straight at me. He raises his hand and he lurches forward, and the fingers in that raised hand have tensed into a grip, and it's as if he's going to throttle me. And then something completely unexpected happens. His eyes, they roll upwards in their sockets, so the pupils are hidden, and all I can see are the whites. And then his mouth, it sort of jerks open, and I hear my son's voice speaking, only it's coming out of Kinyobi's mouth. "Dad," he says. He sounds concerned. No, panic-stricken. "Dad, are you okay?" I think I must have blacked out then. The next thing I'm aware of, I'm back in bed, and my son Ben is on the TV screen. He's sitting in front of those big, wide windows he has out there. I can see palm trees through them, their fronds swaying in a gentle coastal breeze, and beyond that, a clear blue sky. I look at my own wretched surroundings, so confined and claustrophobic in comparison. And as I'm looking, the door opens. Kinyobi enters, and I cry out in horror. "It's all right, Dad," says Ben. "You're perfectly safe." "No," I say. "No, I think Kinyobi's trying to kill me." I glance back at him. I notice his head is straight again, and his eyes and face look normal. In fact, Kinyobi's his usual calm, serene, apparently harmless self. "That's impossible, Dad," says Ben on the screen. "Kinyobi's not allowed to harm you. Not in any way." "You weren't here," I say. "You don't know what he's capable of." Ben looks exasperated, tired. He's looking older. I don't know how old he is. "No, but Dad, listen. We get reports from Kinyobi. He's been worried about you." He stops. "Kinyobi, leave us, please. Take 10. Kinyobi nods and exits the room silently. "Dad," Ben begins again. "I don't know how much you remember or understand about anything, but you know Kinyobi is a robot, right? You remember we got a robot to look after you when things started to get too hard. And even the doctor said it was a good thing to do, you know, so you had someone with you all the time. Robot? My mind, my poor broken mind, is reeling. Did I know that about Kinyobi? I recall vague images, fragments of conversations, but everything is so difficult to catch hold of. It's like I'm trying to pick up a jelly with a boxing glove. Ben's voice is muffled in the background. It's as though he's talking behind a wall, and I must strain to hear him. So Kinyobi can't hurt you, but we'll send someone out there to have a look at him, just to put your mind at rest. I suddenly remember something. I killed Mary, I say, cutting him off. I killed Mum. Again, Ben's face is weary. Dad, he starts to explain, and his tone indicates not for the first time. Your condition makes you forget stuff. Your memory comes and goes, but every day it's getting worse. It also makes you see things that aren't there. You hallucinate. You have terrible dreams, but they're just dreams. I'm nodding, but I'm not sure I'm understanding. Mum died of cancer, Dad. 3 years ago. She died of skin cancer. But when it came to the end, they made sure she suffered as little as possible. They managed her pain the very best they could. She died peacefully, Dad. We're all there, Dad. You too. When she finally slipped away, I start to cry then, and I know it's because even as he's telling me this, I'll forget. I'm bound to forget. And at some point we'll have this conversation again. And it will be as if I'm losing her again. I change the subject. How are things in Australia, is it? I ask. Brighton, Dad. We're in Brighton, he says. Oh, how's Barney? I ask. How's your brother, Barney? I'm your only child, Dad, he says. Barney was one of the guinea pigs. Oh, is he? I'm sorry. You know I get my worms mixed up. He says sorry he hasn't been to see me recently, but everything's been manic there in Brighton. He promises to come soon and bring the kids. Apparently I'm a granddad. He looks at me through the screen. It was hard, Dad, he says. For all of us, when you couldn't remember our names, or didn't know who we were, when you shouted and raged and swore at us, and the children, they were littler then, too young to understand. I know it shouldn't have, but it hurt us too. It was like you'd already left us. He said more, but I forget the rest. At some point after Ben has gone, Kinyobi reappears. I'm Kinyobi, he says. How can I make your life more comfortable? I don't know why, but I think of asking him for a worm search. Instead, I say, it's time, Kinyobi. I want to go. Like Mary, I say. I want to slip away. Slip away, Mr. Robinson? He asks. Die, Kinyobi, I say. I want to die. Like Mary. I want to follow Mary, join my wife, be with her again. If you want to make me more comfortable, you'll do that for me. You'll help me to slip away. He ponders this, tilting his head to one side. I'm not permitted to harm you, Mr. Robinson, only to help you. He pauses then, for what seems like a minute or more. He looks lost in thought, as if deliberating whether to say something or not. Evidently he decides, because the very next thing he says is, at the start your son gave me permission to end your suffering, if and when it became too great for you to bear. He would need to authorize such an action. Another pause. But if you were to say, override, I say instantly. Override. Please. Don't get around much anymore. I'm in bed, and I'm comfortable as ever I can be. Kinyobi has done everything I've asked of him. He really is so good to me, and kind. I asked him to play music, Lullaby of Birdland, one of Mary and mine's favourites. There are pictures of her on the screen. Soon, I whisper. Soon, my love. I wonder how it will be done. Knowing Kinyobi, it will be efficient. Some deadly cocktail of pills, perhaps. No, more likely these days, a simple injection, silent, lethal, but painless, and maybe only a matter of mere minutes before the blessed release, the long-awaited, long-yearned-for sleep. Mere minutes before I slip away like Mary. Kinyobi reappears to tell me his name is Kinyobi. I'm pleased to see him. I'm always pleased to see him, but even more so because I know he can end this. He approaches the bed. His smooth face betrays nothing. But no, that's not true. He looks sad, broken almost. His lower lip might be trembling. I understand. I simply nod at him, a nod to let him know things I can't quite bring myself to say, a nod to say, it's time. Kinyobi nods back silently. I can't be sure, but as mad as this sounds, something small and glistening and impossibly human is beading in the corner of the robot's eye. A single tear. And that single impossible tear falls with a splash onto the bedspread, my eyes following its descent. And it's only then I catch sight of Kinyobi's right hand at his side, and what he carries in it. I stare back into his almost human eyes to see my terrified face reflected in them. Shaking, he raises the hammer above his head and begins to swing. Today's story was Don't Get Around Much Anymore. It was written and performed by Jasper L'Estrange. Well, I do hope you enjoyed it. And until next time, sweet dreams.